Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back. It has been a while. Pageant went really well, and we needed a really good break. So we took a little extra time. Today's episode is called Speak So People Listen. And I want to start with this truth. Your voice is not just the sound that comes out of your mouth. Your voice is your presence. Your voice is your leadership. It's your confidence. It's your knowledge. Your voice is your boundaries. Your voice is your self-respect. And whether you're standing on a stage or sitting in a boardroom interviewing for an opportunity that you might have or advocating for yourself, maybe you're leading your family, serving your community, or simply having a difficult conversation with someone you love, how you communicate matters. Not just because you need to be perfect, not because you need to sound rehearsed, not because you need to become someone that you're not, but because when you learn to speak with elegance, knowledge, and poise, people experience you differently. They listen different. They respond differently. They trust differently. And most importantly, you begin to trust yourself differently. Before we get into today's topic, I also want to invite you to something very special. As many of you know, the Pageant Launchpad will be going away. We are not completely going away. We are just rebranding and moving over to Skool, Skool. I want to invite you to the Future Her virtual conference. It's happening September 17th through the 19th. The 17th and 18th, it'll be in the evening. The 19th is the full day. The conference is designed for the woman who knows that she's called into a greater version of herself, but she also knows she can't keep waiting for the perfect time, the perfect confidence, the perfect circumstances, or the perfect permission. Registration opens August 1st, 2026. Early bird registration is $75 from August 1st to August 15th, so get in early. Regular registration is $100 from August 16th through September the 10th, and late registration is $150 from September 11th through the 17th. Get in early. The earlier, the better. So mark your calendars now. The message of this conference is simple. There is going to be multiple speakers, amazing speakers. Your future, your commitment, and your time is now. Back to today's episode, because it fits beautifully into that message, because one of the most powerful commitments you can make to your future self is this: I'm going to learn how to communicate like the woman I'm becoming. So let's talk about how to speak so that people listen. Why does communication matter more than words? When most people think about communication, they think about words. They think, what should I say? How should I answer? What's the right sentence? What's the perfect response? Particularly in pageantry, or for that job that you really want, or you're going to land that big deal. Communication is so much more than just words. It's your posture, it's your breathing, your facial expression, your pauses, your tone, your timing, your ability to listen, your emotional control. That's a big one right there. Your choice of words and your presence in the room. Have you ever had someone say all the right words, but something about it felt kind of off? Maybe their tone was a little sharp. Maybe their eyes were distracted. Maybe they were smiling, but you could feel the sarcasm. Maybe they said, I'm fine. And every part of you knew that they were absolutely not fine. Husbands know this when we get upset, right? That's because communication is not just verbal, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's physical, it's relational. People don't always hear what you say, they feel how you say it. That's why a woman can say very little and still walk in and command a room. And another person can talk for 20 minutes and never truly be heard. So speaking so that people listen is not about being the loudest voice. It's about being the most grounded voice. It's not about being the dominating person in the conversation. It's about elevating the conversation. It's not about proving you're smart. It's about communicating with enough clarity that your knowledge can actually be received. And that's where elegance, knowledge, and poise come in. Elegance is not about being fancy. Elegance is about restraint and grace and intentionality. Knowledge is not about overwhelming people with everything you know. Knowledge is about knowing what matters and communicating it clearly. And poise is not about pretending nothing affects you. Poise is about being able to remain steady even when something does affect you. You can have a little bit of emotion and still be steady. And that's powerful. So let's talk about pitfall conversations. And I'm not talking about politics and religion and all that other stuff. These are conversations where we lose ourselves. You could talk about politics and religion and still not lose yourself in the conversation. They usually start with something simple, but before we know it, we're defensive, we're emotional, we're over-explaining, we're apologizing or interrupting, shutting down, or saying things we later wish we had said differently. Pitfall conversations happen when conversation begins to control us instead of us leading ourselves through the conversation. A lot of the ladies that I have coached through life coaching or pageant coaching learned this skill in the very beginning parts of our coaching training. There are a few common communication pitfalls. The first one is over-explaining, and I do this. No matter how many times I teach someone else not to do it, I still do it. I over-explain. Now, I want to be clear. There's nothing wrong with explaining yourself when explanation is appropriate. But over-explaining often comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being judged, fear of being rejected, fear of disappointing someone, fear that your simple answer is not enough. So instead of saying, no, I'm not available, we give a 10-minute explanation about why we're not available. Instead of saying that doesn't work for me, we can apologize 6 different ways. Instead of saying, I need more time to consider this, we fill the silence with nervous words. Over-explaining can actually weaken your message. A poised woman understands that clarity does not always require a paragraph. Sometimes clarity sounds like, thank you for thinking of me, but I'm not available. Or, I understand your perspective, but I don't agree. And we do have a problem in this country right now where people cannot agree to disagree. Everybody has to fall in line with what you believe. That's not the way it should be. That's not communication. That's intimidation. So I understand your perspective, but I don't agree. That's fine. Or maybe that's not something I can commit to right this minute. Or I need to pause and think before I respond. Maybe I'm willing to discuss this, but I'm not willing to be spoken to disrespectfully. It's a really great way to draw a boundary. That's communication with poise. The second pitfall. This pitfall is matching someone else's emotional energy. And I know people tell you, whatever energy they have, that's the energy you need to have. And that's how you're going to connect with them. That's not truth. When someone gets loud, we get loud. Someone gets sarcastic, so we get sarcastic. Someone becomes dismissive, so we become dismissive. You see where it's going with this. Someone becomes frantic and we become frantic. And suddenly we're no longer responding from our values. We're reacting to their behavior. That's dangerous because when you match chaos, you multiply chaos. A woman with presence doesn't need to mirror every emotion in the room. She would be going crazy. She can recognize the emotion without becoming consumed by it. She can say, I can tell this matters to you, or I want to understand what you're saying, or I'm willing to continue with this conversation when we can both speak respectfully. Or maybe I hear the emotion in this, but I want us to focus on the issue. That is emotional intelligence. The third pitfall. The third pitfall is trying to be liked instead of being clear. This is a big one. Many women have been conditioned to soften everything. We don't want to sound rude. We do not want to sound difficult. We don't want to sound too strong or too opinionated or too direct or too much. So we shrink the message. We add qualifiers. I'm sorry, but this might be silly. I could be wrong. I do that one a lot. I don't know if this makes sense. I say that a lot too. I'm probably overthinking this. Do any of those sound familiar? They sound familiar to me. Now, humility is beautiful, but constantly minimizing yourself before you speak trains people to underestimate what you're about to say. You can be kind and clear at the same time. You can be warm and firm at the same time. You can be respectful and direct at the same time. That's where communication becomes powerful. Now let's move to emotional intelligence. It is one of the most important parts of communication because you can have the right words and still deliver them at the wrong time, the wrong tone, with the wrong energy. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize what's happening inside of you, recognizing what may be happening with the other person, and choosing a response that serves the moment instead of sabotaging it. There are 4 areas that I want you to think about. The first is self-awareness. Before you speak, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Am I responding or reacting? Am I trying to solve this, win this, avoid this, or control this? And what do I actually want to communicate? That pause matters. Taking that moment to ask yourself those questions matters because sometimes we want to be heard, but what we are really doing is trying to prove a point. Sometimes we say we want resolution, but we're still attached to being right. Sometimes we say we're fine, but our tone is telling the truth. Self-awareness allows you to become honest with yourself before you speak. The second area is self-regulation. Self-regulation is not suppressing your emotions, it's managing your response to your emotions. It means you may feel anger, but you don't have to become cruel. You may feel hurt, but you don't have to become passive aggressive. You may feel nervous, but you don't have to abandon your message. You may feel intimidated, but you don't have to shrink. A powerful communicator does not wait until she feels completely confident to communicate well. She learns how to communicate while her nervous system is still catching up. That's part of that onstage question. That is part of the interview questions in the job that you want, in the deal that you're making. Your ability to communicate while your nervous system is catching up with you is integral for that. The third area, this is social awareness. This means you're paying attention to the room. Is this person overwhelmed? Is this the right time? Because sometimes you don't need to say anything at that time. Is my message landing? Is there confusion? Is there resistance? Is there a better way to say what I want to say? Social awareness helps you avoid tone-deaf communication because sometimes the message is right, but the timing is wrong. My husband is really, really amazing at, because I'm always the person that wants to go, jump into it, just go. 2 feet, we're in. He is the opposite. He slows me down and says, let's talk about this for a minute. Let's think this through for a minute. And if it weren't for him, I would have like 50 million ideas and they would be scattered all over the place. So it's not always the right time. He slows me down so that I'm doing it in the right, whatever I want to do, I'm doing in the right timing. So he's kind of my guide that way. But just because you want to say something or you want to do something doesn't mean the timing is right. Okay? So sometimes the information is accurate, but the delivery is too harsh. Sometimes the truth needs to be spoken, but it needs to be spoken with wisdom. This is one that I have been working on for years. And I thank my mom for helping me with that. The fourth area is relationship management. This one has been a tough one for me, even this year. This is your ability to communicate in a way that protects the dignity of the conversation. That doesn't mean you avoid a hard truth. That doesn't mean you let people cross your boundaries. That doesn't mean you keep the peace at the expense of your own well-being. This was a hard one for me this year. Wow, was it hard. So if you're there, I hear you. It means that you understand that words can either build a bridge or burn one. And sometimes they can do both. Maybe they'll build that bridge and then it has to be burnt. Even when a boundary is necessary, you can still deliver it with class. Everybody got that one? Now let's talk about presence. Presence is what people experience before you even finish your first sentence. We talked about this when we talked about the first 30 seconds of your interview back, I think it was in January or February. People experience who you are before you even finish your first sentence. It's the way you enter a room. It's the way you sit in a chair. It's the way you listen, the way you pause before answering, the way that you hold eye contact, the way you carry yourself when you're not the one speaking. Presence says, I'm here, not half here, not distracted here, not performing here, not begging to be accepted here, fully here. One of the biggest mistakes people make in communication is believing they need to rush to prove they know something. Rushing often communicates anxiety. And while some of us have anxiety, we can control that by practicing. So practice before any kind of interview you're going into. Pausing communicates confidence. When someone asks you a question, you don't have to jump into the answer right away. You can take a breath, you can smile, and you can say, that is a thoughtful question. You can gather your thoughts. That pause does not make you look unprepared. It makes you look intentional if you're doing your homework. Presence is also deeply connected to listening. A lot of people are not listening. They're waiting to talk. They're prepared for their comeback. They are defending themselves internally. They are planning their next sentence. They're trying to win. But when you truly listen, people feel it. And when people feel heard, they are more likely to hear you. That's leadership. That's maturity. That's grace. Now let's talk about poise and physiology. This is one of my favorite parts because the way you hold your body can directly affect the way you communicate. When your body is collapsed, your voice often becomes smaller. When your shoulders are tense, your tone can often become strained. When your breathing is shallow, your words can become rushed. When your jaw is tight, your message can sound harsher than you intend it to. Your body is part of your communication system. Some of you will notice that when I do my episodes, I'm generally standing because I know I have more energy when I stand. I'll do this, like back and forth kind of stuff. You don't want to do that, but I do that. The swaying is just part of the energy that I'm building up in me, but I need to be standing. If I sit and I slump just a little bit, I start to make myself smaller. I start to talk lower. I actually start to not trust what I'm saying, if that makes sense. Your body is part of your communication system. Poise begins with your physical presence. So here's a simple practice for you. Sit or stand tall. Let your shoulders relax. Lengthen through the spine. So that means when you're standing with a tall spine. Keep your chin level. Unclench your jaw. Place your feet firmly on the floor. If you could see my feet, they're pretty firm on the floor. They're shoulder length apart. And I do sway. Take one slow breath in. I have literally told pageant girls when they're backstage, put your arms all the way up, stretch, 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 up on your tippy toes, as high as your arms can go, and then relax. And you will feel everything in your body relax from that point on. It takes 2 seconds to do it. So do all of the keeping your chin level, unclench your jaw, place your feet firmly on the floor. Take one slow breath in and then exhale longer than you inhale. We just did that. Now you say a sentence out loud. Try this. I'm prepared to speak with clarity and confidence. So stretch yourself up. Breath in. Relax. Say it again, but this time collapse everything and don't rush through it. It feels different, doesn't it? That's because physiology changes your delivery, and delivery changes the impact. Your proper poise helps you stay clear-minded because it gives your body a signal of steadiness. When you're in a difficult conversation, your body might want to protect you. You might want to take a step back. Maybe you bring your arms to the front. Your heart may rise. Your breath may become shallow. Your thoughts start to race. Your voice starts to shake. Your words may disappear. But that doesn't mean you're weak. It means you are human. But you can train yourself to return to steadiness. One breath, one pause, one grounded posture, in one intentional sentence. Poise is not the absence of emotion. Poise is the ability to remain connected to yourself while emotion is present. That is a skill. And like every skill, it can be practiced. Let's talk about tone here. Now, moms will understand this because we have children. Or maybe we're young and we have parents and we get attitude, or it might sound like we have attitude. That's a tone thing. And moms, my mom and me did not like when it sounded like there was attitude or sarcasm in your tone. Tone is really important in communication, and your tone can change the entire meaning of your words. You can say, oh, that's fine. And depending on your tone, it can mean that's generally fine, or I'm trying to be polite, but I'm not okay, or I'm irritated, that's fine, or I'm shutting this conversation down, or I dare you to ask me again. Same words, completely different message. A poised communicator understands tone. Let's talk about a few tones that every woman should know how to use intentionally. The first is the warm tone. This tone is open, gracious, and welcoming. It says, I'm approachable. This is useful when you're connecting, when you're encouraging, when you're inviting or teaching or building trust. The second is firm tone. The tone is calm, clear, and steady. It says, I mean what I'm saying. Firm does not mean rude, it doesn't mean aggressive, and it doesn't mean cold. Firm means your words have a backbone. The third is the curious tone. This tone is helpful when you need more information or when tension is rising. It says, help me understand. It says curiosity, and curiosity can de-escalate a conversation because it slows down the assumption. Instead of saying that makes no sense, you can say, can you help me to understand how you arrived at that conclusion? It might irritate them, but at least it shows that you are trying to understand them. Instead of saying you're wrong, you can say, I see that differently. Can we talk through that? Because now you're opening the door for that person to share with you why they believe what they believe. The fourth is the elevated tone. This tone is polished, composed, and professional. It's used in interviews, public speaking, leadership settings, pageants, conferences, and any moment when your communication represents not just your thoughts, but your character. An elevated tone is not fake, it's refined. It is choosing to communicate from your highest self, of your most triggered self, if that makes sense. Let me say that again. It is you choosing to communicate from your highest self instead of your most triggered self. Okay. The fifth is the direct tone. This is the tone of leadership. It's used when action is needed. It says, here's what needs to happen next. Women often struggle with this because we've been told that being directive makes us bossy. But leadership requires direction. You can give direction with respect, you can lead without belittling, and you can be clear without being controlling. That is mature communication. Now, how to speak with elegance, knowledge, and poise. How do we pull it all together? First, know your message before you open your mouth. This is where many people think, well, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to wing it, and I already know what I'm talking about. And then they crash and burn and they don't understand why they didn't do so well. Know what you're talking about before you open your mouth. This is where practice comes in. This is where spending that extra time finding those. You want stats, but you don't want a whole bunch of stats because you don't want to make it look like you know it all. And you want to be able to communicate the important stuff, not just like a whole list of stats. One stat, you're good. Did you know that three out of 5 women are assaulted every day, sexually assaulted every day? Those kind of stat. I don't know if that's really, I don't remember if that's a correct stat or not. I'm just giving you an example. One statistic example. Know what you're talking about before you open your mouth. It's so super important. Ask yourself, what's the point I need to make? This is where we're narrowing down what you want to say. What is the point I need to make? What outcome am I hoping for? This is not the outcome where, if you're in pageants, the judge likes me. That's not the outcome that you want. It might be the outcome that you revert to, but it shouldn't be the outcome that you want. The outcome that you want is to give them information that will help them understand what you do or what you stand for, what your community service is, what you do in your spare time, what value you have. So what is the point that you want to make? What outcome am I hoping for? What does this moment require from me? Maybe it doesn't require you to give a big explanation. Maybe it just needs three-word sentence. What can I say clearly and calmly? What is not going to invoke all the emotion all at once? Second, use fewer words with more intention. Don't bury your message under nervous talking. Say what you mean. Say it with kindness. Say it with confidence. And then stop. The stop is important. A lot of powerful communication is ruined because we keep talking after the message has landed. I sometimes do this with my husband. Poor guy. Third, watch your filler language. Words and phrases like just, sort of, kind of, I guess, maybe, and I don't know can weaken a message when they're overused. Doesn't mean you can't use them appropriately. It just means when you use them too often, it's just filler. Instead of saying, I just kind of think maybe we should consider another option, say, I recommend we consider another option. Sounds more confident, sounds more concise, and it gets the message across. Feels different. It carries authority. Fourth, do not confuse emotion with truth. Your feelings are valid, but they are not always instructions. You may feel attacked when someone is simply asking a question. I've seen people go through that. I've seen people who've been traumatized by something, and anytime anyone even remotely talks about it, they become triggered. That is not a you thing. That is a them thing. And that's where they might feel attacked. And all you're doing is asking a question. So you might feel like you're being attacked when someone's asking a question. You might feel rejected when someone needs more time or needs time to think about it. You might feel pressured when someone is only making a request. Emotional intelligence gives you space to ask, what is actually happening here? That space can save relationships, can save opportunities, and it can save your own personal peace. Let's go to the fifth. Practice recovery. You will not communicate perfectly every time. I have been with my husband for 20 years and I am still lacking in communication. I do okay, but you're not going to be perfect every time. even after 20 years. None of us can. The goal isn't perfection. Perfection doesn't exist. The goal is repair and growth. If you interrupt someone, you can say, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Please finish. I could say that a lot more to my husband. If your tone comes out wrong, you can say, let me say that again in a better way. If you get overwhelmed, you can say, I need a moment to gather my thoughts. That doesn't make you less. It just makes you think and take that moment, take that pause. It's not a weakness. That's emotional maturity. That's poise. Now, communicating in your future self. I want you to think about the woman that you're becoming. How does she speak? How does she rush? Does she apologize for taking up space? Does she shrink when someone challenges her? Does she avoid hard conversations until resentment builds? Or does she breathe? Does she pause? Does she listen? Does she choose her words with intention? Does she communicate with warmth and strength? Does she know what to speak and when to be silent? Does she understand that her voice is a tool, not a weapon? That's the woman that we're building. And this is exactly why the Future Her virtual conference matters, because your future is not just about what you dream of doing someday. Your future is built by the commitments you make now, the way you speak now, the way you lead now, the way you show up now, the way you honor your calling now, the way you stop wanting for permission or waiting for permission or craving permission right now. So again, the Future Her virtual conference is happening in September 17th through the 19th. The 17th and 18th are evening sessions, and the 19th is an all-day thing. Registration opens August 1st. The early bird registration is $75 from August 1st to the 15th. Regular registration is $100 from August 16th through the September 10th. And then late registration is $150 from September 11th through September 17th. Do not wait until the last minute if you already know that this conference is for you, because the message is your future, your commitments, and your time is now. And communication is one of those commitments. Communicate to speaking with clarity, commit to speaking with wisdom, commit to speaking with grace and courage, commit to no longer minimizing the knowledge, experience, and calling inside of you. Before we close, I want to leave you with this. People do not need you to be perfect. They need you to be present. They need you to be clear. They need you to be honest. They need you to be grounded. And you need to know that your voice is worthy of being heard, not because everyone will agree with you, not because every room will be celebrating you, and not because every conversation will be easy, but because you have something to contribute. You have wisdom, you have experience, you have perspective, you have a purpose. And when you learn to speak with elegance, knowledge, and poise, you're not just improving your communication, you're becoming more aligned with the woman you were created to be. So this week, I want you to practice 3 things. 1, pause before you respond. You can do this with your children. You could do this with your spouse. You could do this with your friend. You could do this at work. Pause before you respond. 2, breathe before you speak. Take that breath. It doesn't have to be so obvious. Just take the breath and then speak. It's your physiology. And number 3, choose the words that reflect the woman you are becoming, not the fear that you're trying to survive. That's how you begin to speak so people listen. So thank you for being here with me today. Make sure you mark your calendar for the Future Her Virtual Conference, September 17th through the 19th. Registration opens August 1st. And remember, your future, your commitments, and your time is now. I'll see you in our next episode.